before we start doing section 5.5, we need to review synthetic division. So it was a little while ago that we did that, but it's not too hard. So here we go. Let's start by finding the quotient and remainder of, so we're just going to do some examples. Find the quotient and remainder. So the quotient is the answer you get when you divide something. Of 2x cubed minus x squared plus 3 divided by x minus 3. Okay, so when we do synthetic division, it can only be done when we have a factor that looks like this, a linear factor with 1 as the coefficient of x, and then plus or minus a number. And then we take the 0 that goes with that, so in this case it would be a positive 3, and we use that to divide it into this. So for synthetic division, we take our 3, our divisor, put it in a box so it's the opposite sign. Then we're going to write down the coefficients from the problem we're dividing into. So we have a 2 that's next to our x third. We have a negative 1 that's next to the x squared. Pay careful attention to the fact that we're missing an x, so we have to put a 0 in for the x, and then we have a 3 for our constant. Okay, so we bring down the 2, multiply 2 times 3 is 6, negative 1 plus 6 is 5, 5 times 3 is 15, 0 plus 15 is 15, 15 times 3 is 45, and 45 plus 3 is 48. We then use this to create our answer. This end part here is always going to be the remainder. This will be the constant. Then we have degree 1, we have degree 2, and then if there's more numbers than that, we just go up an exponent for each one. So our final answer is 2x squared plus 5x plus 15 with a remainder of 48. Another way of writing that remainder would be to say plus 48 over x minus 3, because that's what we were dividing by. Or we could simply say this with remainder 48. Okay. Another thing we use synthetic division for is to show if something is a factor. So let's see if in this next problem we have a factor of the problem. Just to remind you what a factor is a piece of that number, so that it can be, it's the pieces that are multiplied together to get that answer. So if we want to see if something is a factor, it will divide in evenly with no remainder. So since the problem we just did had a remainder, that means that this answer, x minus 3, is not a factor of this polynomial. Okay. So show that x minus 2 is a factor of 4x to the third minus 3x squared minus 8x minus 4. Okay, so we take our divisor and instead use the 0 of that binomial. So that would be a 2. And then we just take the coefficients. We have our x cubed coefficient, our x squared coefficient, the x coefficient, and a constant. So there's nothing missing this time. We don't need to put any zeros. Bring down the 4. 4 times 2 is 8. Negative 3 plus 8 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. Negative 8 plus 10 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. And negative 4 plus 4 is 0. So notice how we have a remainder of 0. That means that this is a factor. X minus 2 is a factor of the polynomial because it divides in evenly with no remainder.